Superstars, settle down, please. As I have mentioned before, today is our show and tell day. I am very eager to see what you've brought today. Now, who would like to go first? Dusky, come on up.
I have a Mascot horror game.
Dusky, this is the 7th week in a row you've shown Mascot horror in class.
You're gonna let me talk about this fucking box, whether you like it or not.
Hi guys! I'm in a good mood this video. Why? I got to play something good this time! It's not like when I play bad things, it's my fault and my decision or anything. Nah. Anyway, so you saw the title, you know I've got a weird one for you today. And I don't really want to pigeonhole myself into Mascot horror. I know I've been talking about that for the past 2 videos, but hear me out on this one. I get a fair few emails about games my viewers are making. If it's a game that's been released, I'll usually check it out because I want to be supportive to you guys. You're making some gems from what I've seen so far, but one I recently got stuck out to me. I was sent a small Mascot horror game by the developer The Silent Smile called The Knockout Box. The tagline was already pretty funny. A Mascot horror game where the mascot knocks you out. Straightforward but also amusing. So of course I looked at the page and look at this little guy. Look, he's adorable! Look, he's got a little tongue and he's wearing long socks. And it's literally just a box with legs? This is the funniest concept for a horror mascot I've seen in a while, come on. Its main weapon is a hammer coming out of its head. It's such a breath of fresh air to see a mascot that isn't falling into the classic clay-like mushy figure with big ol' kissable lips demographic. And scrolling further down on the page, the style of the game also stuck out to me. It's pixelated like I'm Scared or It Steals, and both of those games succeeded in genuinely freaking me out. So I was curious if this game was also going to do that despite its goofy little star. Also, you never see pixelated Mascot horror. I guess it's because it takes so much more effort to make everything low poly, because people making Mascot horror games for a quick buck aren't gonna be willing to do that. This style alone makes it charming already, but visuals are only one part of a game. Gameplay is also important and can be what ruins the experience. So to get a feel for how this game actually felt to play, I checked out the trailer, and I was intrigued. The game looked like it definitely did a good job of making you tense while also being simple to understand. And I also liked the music and the creepy mascot eyes. I will admit one of the #1 things that gets me in horror games is when it's just the eyes visible in the darkness. Okay, but that's not gameplay related. Let's actually download this thing and see how it feels. Also, quick disclaimer, gameplay footage shown may not match the current available build, as I unfortunately did not have the time to commit to beating future versions after 1.0. Some things like graphics and decor placements have been updated since I recorded. So, here we are in the Knockout Box. I think for this game, it'll be good to discuss the various aspects of it individually, since overall the game is quite short, but there's still a lot I have to talk about. Big thanks to Silent Smile for helping me understand a lot of how the game works and for allowing me to pick their brain constantly whenever I got curious. First, I should probably talk about the gameplay, because none of the other topics are gonna make sense if you don't have context, right? Okay, so getting into the game, we start off with a cutscene, where our player character is driving home. However, they hear a strange sound and wander into the forest to check it out alone, and they are promptly kidnapped by an invisible being. They wake up in a strange maze near a locked door in the dark. On the table in front of them is a key, and with enough keys, they'll be able to unlock that door and escape, but gathering those keys won't be easy. You'll need a whole 10 of them, and looking for you is a certain box. You have the ability to run and jump as well as crouching, and all 3 of these simple abilities will come in handy while avoiding it. Careful not to be silly with your running and jumping though, as both these actions require stamina to use, so if you've run and want to jump onto an object, you can't until your bar recharges. Best not to let it run out, as it's like Security Breach in that if you use it all up, it must be full before you can use it again, but if you don't, it will refill quicker. Keys are hidden everywhere around the maze, and you'll get a free one at the beginning so that you have an idea of what they look like. It always did bother me when games told me to look for stuff but didn't tell me what said stuff was gonna look like. These keys are not freely flying around on stuff, though. They are actually hidden pretty damn well, and you've gotta be paying attention to be able to spot them. Always be checking behind couches, in drawers, and in little crevices for these buggers, because from some camera angles, they're near invisible. Thankfully, there are actually 15 keys hidden, so you don't need to find every single one to be able to escape. The game does leave hints implying how many keys you need, but just make sure you're counting your keys as you get them, as the game does not tell you how many you have. Alongside the hints on your objective, you can find notes on where the keys are as well. Not for all of them, but for some, an unknown person recounts where they're pretty sure they dropped some, such as behind a box and curtain and near a non-functional knockout box. Be aware that there is also an additional threat present in the alive carpet, which will probably get you your first time. It's a red carpet colored differently from the blue ones that surround it, and on stepping on it, it will instantly eat you. There is only one in the maze. Despite the surprise, I can't be mad at a carpet. Once you get a hold of all 10 keys, make your way back to where you spawned to enter the door and begin a final chase scene, where you must escape the box in one last stretch to reach the exit and also your car, finally escaping. The gameplay here is actually pretty interesting, but I want to wait to get more into it as it will fit better when I go over the box's AI, which has a lot to do with the nuance in this section. Lengthwise, there ain't a lot in this game. It's quite similar in concept to classics like Slenderman, where you've just gotta find some things and get out. But design-wise, that's where I think this game shines. That's why I want to break it up, starting with the visuals. The first thing you will see, obviously. In the graphics department, this game is heavily inspired by games such as I'm Scared and It Steals, using a pixelated aesthetic with low poly visuals and particle effects. The unique visual style already sets it apart from other Mascot horrors. I wish more of these games would do this kind of thing, but this game also takes advantage of its style very well to spook you with your own mind. The darkness in the maze is almost suffocating, but not enough to make it so you can't see where you're going, just enough to freak you out a little. There are many lights around the maze, but these may end up being more of a clever hindrance than a welcome reprieve, because you see, the enemy in this game is only visible from a distance by its bright white eyes, and it isn't the only one of its kind. Lore-wise, it's just the only one that's alive. So, multiple other copies of that little box are scattered around, all with glowing eyes to match. They're not a threat, but they'll certainly make you worry for a second when you spot one for the first time, potentially giving the real one time to march up behind you. Other little lights around the area may have a similar effect due to the low resolution, making it hard to discern details and tricking your brain. There are also light sources that project light, but these have their own downside to your stress level, as the enemy box also projects white light, and that is a key way of telling if it is nearby but currently behind a wall. Props like these giant light bulbs look intentionally placed to throw you off the real threat and focus you on a fake one. This kind of tactic is similar to what It Steals does, though while this game is bold about its tricks, that game utilizes the pixel style as more of a camouflage effect, such as when the hide-and-seek monster takes on a form that almost blends in with the crusty black and white floor in an attempt to trick you into walking too close. I enjoy both games' take on this. Also, there's the occasional prop that will follow you with its eyes, as well as some that even switch up poses completely when you enter the room multiple times, like this fruit bowl thing. I'm not sure I've seen a collect the items horror game do that one before, but since that kind of game expects the player to return to a room more than once, I think more should take advantage of that. Now for the sound. The game tries really hard to trick you with sound. While searching for the keys, you'll hear many noises like cranks being turned, breathing, and slams of what sound like doors. It wouldn't be far-fetched to assume these are coming from the enemy box, but in reality, these are completely random. They do, however, succeed at throwing you off the first few tries, because you wouldn't even know they were random unless you were me, and you may or may not have found the sound folder they were in, which is literally called Random Sounds. But regardless of that, you'd eventually pick up on them not being related to the box, I think, though I remained under the impression for a while that the cranking sound indicated the box had taken a break to recharge, which could have tricked me were I not careful. There are a lot of random sounds that can play, and all I think are well made and creepy. They also make it harder to listen for the one sound that matters, the box's steps. They sound a lot like them and can trick you into worrying the box is nearby when it isn't. To avoid the box, you'll need to listen out for its steps. One thing I didn't like about the steps were that they don't match with the box's actual walk speed, which can throw you off in a less fun way. Otherwise, though, they remind me of the footstep sounds you often hear in Five Nights at Freddy's free roam games, where they get you paranoid that the increase in volume means the enemy's right behind the corner, when perhaps they actually aren't. Had me hiding a lot, that's for sure. One last sound that can distract from the box's stepping is the environmental sound of this room right here, full of turning gears. Heard from a distance, it can easily be mistaken for the box itself, which is sneaky. Hilariously enough, this room is actually decently safe from the box, as there are a lot of nooks to hide in. As a side note, the alive carpet also has an ambient sound, but it's not very audible under everything else, so I never relied on it. Besides the sound effects, this game does have music, although it's very simple. It fits the mood and makes you uneasy, but it isn't groundbreaking. Several tracks will play randomly while you explore the maze, as well as a final, more intense one in the ending chase. I like that one the most. Now for what I found to be the most exciting part, the AI of the knockout box. It's actually more complex than you'd initially assume given its role. The box's normal behavior is to be expected. It will traverse the maze at a brisk pace, taking random-ish turns. It will never stop moving and can only see you if you step into its line of sight, after which it will go into chase mode. That's where it gets interesting. You see, the thing about the knockout box is that it's just way easier to beat the game if you never let this thing see you at all, because the problem is it's got anger issues. Ones that make it quite difficult to deal with it in the way you've grown to expect in chaser enemies, aka running away. When it begins to chase you, the box will attempt to run up to you at a speed slower than your run speed and hit you with its hammer. It will continue trying this, speeding up the hammer attack gradually. The box actually can't do contact damage to you in this state if it isn't attacking, but you can't jump over it. I tried, so probably don't let it too close anyway. If you get too far away from the box and it isn't able to catch up to you anymore, it will become enraged and gain a massive speed increase for about 6 seconds, during which it will get a constant ping on your location. If it touches you during this rage state, you will explode into pieces from the force. It'll get annoyed, growl, and bolt off to do its normal patrol route, but this time much faster. It's not advised to be out and about during this rage patrol. You need to find a good hiding spot as soon as possible, and by a good spot I mean one like this bookshelf where even if it sees you, the box can't physically reach you. Being out of sight is not enough. You can tell if the box is nearby by a pulsing sound that comes from it while angry. The enraged patrol state will last for about 46 seconds, after which the music that plays during rage state will stop. But don't be fooled, this is a red herring. Rage state only ends after the next 6 seconds have elapsed. The box will actually get a new ping on your exact location during this last resort phase and run over at breakneck speed, hence the need for a good hiding spot. If you survive the next 6 seconds, the box will go back into its regular wander state. The box's AI works the same in the ending chase as far as I can tell. However, since there are not any hiding spots here, a different strategy is needed. Generally, if the box goes into rage state in a long hallway with you, you're pretty much dead as you can't outrun it and it has nowhere else to patrol. It's actually better to keep it near you at the beginning and bait it into attacking while you dodge, until you're able to jump over any of these cabinets. The box can't jump, so if you jump over one, it has to take the long way around to get back to you, which will buy you time. Yeah, it'll go into rage state, but it's still time. The point is to stop it from immediately becoming enraged, as if it does, there's no way to get past the first 5 seconds of the chase. Thankfully, the game does save your place if you make it to the ending chase, so there's no worry of having to get all the keys again. Just keep the box going in loops and avoid the alive carpets placed around the edges of the maze and you'll make it. Overall, I love the unique bits of the box's AI. It makes an otherwise goofy enemy formidable and at least somewhat demanding of respect, which is wild considering it's a cardboard box with a tongue and a mallet wearing programmer socks. One last part to bring up, the game's cheeky moments. It's actually got a sense of humor. I mentioned earlier that there are notes scattered around the maze, but some actually explain the lore of the knockout box that chases you and of whoever dropped the keys. I don't really get the ones explaining the key guide. There's something about them losing their memory because of a poison and the knockout boxes being vessels used to trap their lord. But they're silly too. This guy literally says they put a key on a yellow object because it was funny, and that they don't even know why the knockout box is moving, it just kinda started doing that, so of course the only logical solution was to give it socks. You know, so the poor little guy doesn't get cold! There is also another way to die in-game besides the alive carpet and the box. It's by eating healthy. What? Well, if you find this lovely evil fruit bowl, you can eat a fruit from it, and keep doing that until you eat the watermelon. But unfortunately, you are stupid and attempt to eat it whole, and that's the end for you! There's also a singular basic jump scare hidden in the maze that legitimately got me twice despite just being the subscribe button. Oh, just a cardboard cutout. That's embarrassing. I think the jump factor here is that you're probably tense from listening for the box's steps, and so this suddenly showing up certainly does a good job of catching you unaware. Probably the only okay way to do a baseline jump scare like this, set up your tension first. Wow, I sure have been talking a lot about a cardboard box, huh? Okay, before I hit you with the conclusion, I did want to get all of my points out of the way first, but I gotta talk about this. Hear me out. So, this isn't related to the video, but I want you guys to see this thing I found while making that programmer socks joke, because I hope you're gonna find it as funny as I do. It had me dying the first time I read it. So, you know what programmer socks are? Generally, they're long socks commonly worn by programmers. They provide no benefit to coding besides making you feel cute, I think. I personally hate wearing them for sensory reasons, but I know a lot of people, especially trans girls, love them. Anyway, while I was getting an image to show for that joke, I came across this article here and clicked out of curiosity, and it is probably the funniest thing I've read this week. I want to show you a few snippets, so let's have a moment of science. If you do not know what programmer socks are, it is high time for you to learn about them. Programming is actually an expensive equipment sport. You certainly would not play soccer without proper pads. Why then would you code without programmer socks? These delicate and agreeable developer socks arrive in a wide cluster of shadings to look over. The majority of these shadings are energetic and alluring to check out, particularly when worn with pants. On the off chance that you are in a hurry, you should take a stab at wearing the radiant yellow programming socks, as they are ideally suited for coding. This tone is extraordinary for software engineers since it permits them to see the things that are composed on the screen. When choosing which one, please remember that the more comfortable it is, the better it is for your hands. Please keep in mind that your hand and feet must fit perfectly to make full use of the padding. Schools usually provide training materials to students before they are allowed to undergo the coding course. Students who passed the training course will also be taught to make their own coding socks by making use of their learning and experience. Okay, that's it. Sorry, I had to subject you to all of that. Thank me later. Anyway, I do conclude that the Knockout Box sure is a standout game. It takes me back to the old pixelated horror of yore, like the kind of stuff Markiplier and co. used to play. I wish there was more of that these days, smaller experiences done in this style but with unique mechanics. Bit-crushed charm will always be my weakness. Making a pixel game like this is also, in my opinion, probably a good way to learn 3D game development and environment building. You don't have to go insane with detail in every model you make, allowing you to practice with lower poly stuff before trying more realistic stuff. If you want to, anyway. No shame if you don't want to switch. More games like this are always welcome. What? But I'm just saying that this was a good idea for a newer dev like Silent Smile to do, since they do mention in the game's ending that they're very new to game development. And what an introduction! I am honestly impressed with the ingenuity on display in this game, despite how new the creator was to designing one at all. Thank you again for sending me this and allowing me to make a video on it. The link to play Knockout Box is in the description below, and I highly encourage you to check it out and perhaps even make a video playing it. I want this thing to get the success it deserves. For now though, that's all from me. This has been Glamrock Dusky, and remember, have a phasorific day!
Gregory, listen, I've installed a great new software on your Fazwatch. It's called Unrigged. It's an amazing game. You should play it when you have the chance. Please. Or I'll be very sad.